Got to be pretty unusual for the Chiefs players as Barkley catches a pass, gets them down to first and goal at the 4. Subsequent play, he's dropped for a loss. The spread now is up to 23.5. The total at 44.5. I guess they haven't really seen a game like this, Joe, since they got crushed in the Super Bowl by Tampa. I mean, a bunch of these players weren't even on that team.
Look at that bench, Mike. I mean, as they're showing the bench done. Up and down, they look like a legit deer in the headlights. They have no idea what happened to them here. And I got news for you. They have no idea what happened here because their leader looks like he has no idea what happened here. I mean, this version of Pat Holmes, game. Same thing. Without him, you cut the head off the snake, and voila, everything is good to go. And really, nobody else has been able to step up for this Kansas City team at all. Now, I'll give the defense credit. This isn't on the defense of the Kansas City Chiefs. This is the problem is with Pat Mahomes and his offense not being able to move the chain, stay on the field.
They have 2 first downs.
And that's and this defense, time of possession, Mike, where are we at in time of possession at this point here in the game?
25-13. 26-13, really.
It's brutal. It's a 2-1 in the biggest game of the year, 2-1. You're not with ball control offenses.
Total plays 49-25. It's going to be 50 right here. Yep. 17 first downs to 2.
Yep. I mean,
Chiefs
look at the
0 for 7.
yards.
Chiefs 0 for 7 on third down. Philly 3 for 7 on third down.
Yep.
253-38 on yardage.
Tells you everything you need to know.
All right, so Super Bowl MVP. I think we're headed down the path of it being Jalen Hurts. Is that fair to say?
We said it earlier, right? We said from what we saw early on in this game with the play calling and Jalen Hurts, clearly the knee not being an issue, Mike. I mean, his prop was 39.5 yards for this game. And that was a couple of runs later, he was good to go. There is no favoring of the knee. There is no injury or anything that was a concern. He looks as healthy as I have seen him all year long. But his ability to be able to mix the run and the pass, and even though Saquon Barkley hasn't had a great game statistically like we've seen, his ability just to be able to keep running and being able to keep doing that has opened it up for Jalen Hurts really to shine in this one, much like he did, let's be honest, a couple of years ago, the last time he faced Mahomes and them, where he was the star of that game.
Yeah, Saquon has 17 carries. He has 5 additional catches.
Mm-hmm.
So while Saquon's not putting up eye-popping numbers and he's probably falling out of the opportunity to be Super Bowl MVP, as Joe said, they've kept Kansas City honest.
Yep.
They have 30 rushing plays and 18 passing plays at present, and it's an annihilation. I think we have an injury timeout now, which is why we've gone to break. But, in blowouts like this, you're just searching for some sort of an answer, some sort of juice in the game, and I just don't know if we're going to get much from Kansas City. It is a little bit of a carbon copy of what happened to them against Tampa. My biggest concern in this game is that Philly would dominate them up front. Frankly, on both sides of the ball, I think there were questions. And Kansas City's defensive line, Joe, to your point, has kind of held up their end of the bargain.
Absolutely.
What are they supposed to do?
Yep.
They're on the field 2-1
Yep.
against the biggest offensive line in the league, the most talented offensive line in the league. They've done their best to try to put pressure on Jalen Hurts, but there's no help from the offense whatsoever. It's obviously odd to say because it's Patrick Mahomes-led offense, but they're in this weird cycle of the offensive line. We got to a breaking point against Tampa where the offensive line needed to be revamped. Then they did it and won 2 Super Bowls.
Correct.
And now the offensive line is in trouble again. You got Joe Thuney, a career guard, playing at left tackle, and right down the line, they're having problems outside of the center, Creed Humphrey.
But that's not an excuse because they had plenty enough time this season to make that adjustment. And they've won plenty of games with this makeshift line. I mean, that happened early in the season.
That mattered,
And they only lost one game that mattered, and they've handled business. So the idea that they don't have their starting linemen. Listen, everybody on the offensive line for Philadelphia is hurt. We didn't know what Juergens was playing. I mean, we had no guys have had to shift around. We saw Becton go out. It's no excuse. It's just absolutely no excuse. The defense for Kansas City given the circumstances, has done the best job they could. And it looks like Chris Jones, too, has been hurt this entire game.
Yep.
But what else are they supposed to do when they're on the field for this long? This, to me, is an inability of Patrick Mahomes. And let's face it, he did kind of, yes, they had the best record. And that's the other thing, Mike, is that we are now trending that the team with the better regular season record is going to not cover and win again here is what it's looking like in this game.
2-20-1 in the last 23 Super Bowls they'll be.
Now, my question is, what's Kansas City's team total here?
Good one. Good live question.
Does anybody believe that Fangio is going to take his foot off the gas in this one? I don't.
Can find it.
I do not, as a matter of fact. I think that they're going to do exactly what they need to do in order to put if they can hold them to one score or less, they are going to do it. They're not calling the dogs off in this one here.
Jalen Hurts now minus 390 for Super Bowl MVP. You know, second is Josh Sweat at plus 310. So we don't throw out a lot of minus 390 bets, but I'll tell you what, folks, that's a winner.
Yep.
At minus 390.
Oh, you're not going to believe this. You're just not going to believe it.
You got to be kidding me.
You got to.
Philly was at fourth and goal, and they kicked a field goal, and it looks like the Chiefs may be off.
No, it's on Philly.
Okay.
They're going to make him kick it again, which they did the first time.
Just decline it.
Yeah, I mean,
get the ball back.
They had to do the same thing last time. They made him go on the four. They made it a 49-yard field goal, which gave us the over on the
I guess
field goal.
if you're the long snapper, Lovato, when are you ever going to get camera time in a Super Bowl?
But what was the shortest field goal? What is this?
This is 29. That would have beaten it.
Unreal.
So, Joe, we both caught a break on penalties on the field goals.
Yep, that's correct.
So that would have been a 24-yard field goal.
Correct.
5-yard penalty pushes it back to 29. I'm still alive. Yep. I have over 26.5 being the shortest field goal. So anything inside of 27, I would lose. But I get a break there. Joe got one earlier where the longest, what was it?
47.5.
Got it.
Yep. And a 5-yard penalty pushed them back. It was a 44-yard field goal. Right. Then it became a 49-yarder after the penalty, and here we are. Everyone's still alive with the shortest. My question was, the shortest touchdown was, I believe, 1.5 yards. It's always 1.5 yards. Was it going to be under or over that? And that first touchdown of Jalen Hurts, was it from the 1 or was it from the 1.5? Because he wasn't at the 1-yard line. He was at the 1.5-yard line, Dotson.
Officially a 1-yard touchdown run.
Wow, so there you go. That one hit earlier as well.
So right now the scoring, all Philly, obviously. Jalen Hurts, 1-yard touchdown. Elliott, 48-yard field goal. DeJean, 38-yard interception return. A.J. Brown, 12-yard touchdown catch. Jake Elliott, 29-yard field goal.
Yep.
Back to the box score on Philly, because we've just been talking about the domination so much. Jahan Dotson, still the leading receiver, 2 for 42, Joe, on the 2 targets. A.J. Brown, 2 for 34. Barkley, 5 for 29. Goddard, 2 for 27, Smitty, Devontae Smith, 3 for 23. And that's it. The Chiefs, Juju, Hollywood Brown, Xavier, don't call me James Worthy, Kareem Hunt, Noah Gray. That's it. No Kelsey. 0 for Kelsey on 2 targets.
He's going to get shut out this game. And mentioned it.
It can't happen. They got to force it.
I mean, Kansas City had problems with tight ends. Philadelphia had no problems covering tight ends, and they're making life miserable for him here today.
Kansas City has problems with defensive lines that can operate the way that Philly operates.
Correct.
Josh Sweat.
Yep.
We're talking about Josh Sweat Super Bowl MVP odds.
That's crazy.
Didn't expect that to happen today, but let's keep it going. We'll have fun here on 8K Live.
Who we pulling for? Who we looking to win this game?
I picked Buffalo over Kansas City in the AFC Championship game, and I was wrong. I'm picking Philly. Philly has the better roster.
Yeah.
But Kansas City just knows how to win, especially one-score games. But I think Saquon, like he's been the difference all year, Kansas City has to prove to me they can stop him.
Absolutely.
They can stop him, stop that O-line, and not have Jalen have to throw it 40 times.
Only on SportsGrid.
It is the greatest show ever. It's funny, and you know what I like? You have balls. I mean, the stuff you do on that show, you are half crazy.
You know, I feel like a good sense of humor, and I like to show it off. And this kind of originally started where people were the hot dog eating challenge was something that I always wanted to do, and every 4th of July, and I was like, I could eat a ton of hot dogs.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid. It's finally here. The big game is just days away, and SportsGrid is live from New Orleans all week long, bringing you the latest news, insights, and analysis from the biggest names in the game. And on game day, we've got you covered all day long with expert picks, live odds, and everything you need to make the most out of the biggest game of the year. Don't miss a second, and it's all happening only on SportsGrid.
Well, here we are, folks. Just watching the Chiefs operate offensively is a mind bender because of all the teams that you could expect to have a bad performance and the way that they're having it. It's very reminiscent of what happened against. Wow, I mean, that is an all-time hold there. With 2 holds, did we get 2 holds on that
Brandon Graham, no less.
So, and a face mask. So, personal foul and a hold. There's that Jawan Taylor, just face masking and tackling Brandon Graham.
Mm-hmm.
So, of all the teams you expect to have a performance like this, you wouldn't expect it to be the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, a team that has won.
Yep.
They won 7 of their last 8 games last year into a year in which they won 17 of 18 games that they cared about. And against Tampa, it was all offensive line struggles. Today, it's really all offensive line struggles, right? I don't know what else to attribute it to. The defense has – you're going to look at the 27, but we effectively have 14 of those points are credited to the Kansas City offense.
Correct. Yes, that's absolutely correct. And now I believe, do we have a first down? No. But they're going to have to go for it on 4th, right?
Of course.
Yeah, so we've got
Kelsey got his first catch of the day.
Yep. But we're going to have a 4th down, and Mahomes 8 of 16 for 52 yards and 2 picks. I've in my wildest dreams, I would never have expected this kind of performance out of Mahomes. And I'll give Philadelphia credit, but
Tony Eason had a tough Super Bowl.
Yes, yeah. Well, I'm trying to think of what was the worst
I think
Brady Super Bowl.
I think Eason went 0 for 4 and got knocked out of the game.
Yeah, well, that was bad. But
Brady's worst Super Bowl?
What was his worst
Probably
statistically?
the first one that they won. Oh my God!
Oh my word! On a 4th down.
That was nearly a pick
Wow.
6. Nearly a pick 6
Wow.
by Philly. We'll look up the Brady box scores, but I would guess statistically.
Why are you throwing it to D-Hop?
What was the Rams Super Bowl like? It was ugly. There was 1 million punts.
Oh, that's right. That was the Aaron Donald.
There was 1 million punts.
Yeah.
But I feel like Edelman ended up winning the MVP in that one.
He did.
And I think Edelman had like 10 or 11 catches. So I'll look it up right now.
Oh, nothing is beating what we're watching right now. I mean, 55 yards in almost 3 quarters is the most unbelievable thing for
Brady. 21 of 35, 252, and a touchdown.
Yes.
What was Goff in that one? I'll look that up. I mean, he lost, so
right.
We got to look at those too. We're not going to look at.
Did we have turnovers? I think we had turnovers in
Goff
that game
was
too.
19 of 38 for 229, and he threw that terrible interception in the end zone.
Yep.
Which could have actually won them the game.
Correct.
But that game was 3-3 at the start of the 4th quarter.
Yep. But again, he still threw for 250. He's got 50 yards.
They just didn't get 3rd downs.
This could go down as one of the most embarrassing and feeble attempts at for a guy that is being, called the GOAT. And anybody can have a bad game, but man, can we even?
All right, we're going to start doing it now. Did we think on this show that we would talk about Rex Grossman?
Oh no!
But
wow,
we're doing it right now. The Rex Grossman Super Bowl, 20 of 28. 165, a touchdown, and 2 picks.
That was in a rainstorm in Miami.
It was.
Yeah, that was like in a hurricane, so that can't possibly count. This is indoors.
Stan Humphries.
Oh.
We're doing it.
Oh.
Stan Humphries. They scored like 26 points in that game, though.
Well, that's my point. When we're bringing up names like this.
24 of 49, 275, a touchdown, 2 picks. Stan Humphries.
I'm sorry. And not taking anything away from what Mahomes has accomplished. He's 29 years old. He's got a lot of football going. But I mean, can we all settle down with the greatest quarterback of all time talk here? Because this is not a team, Mike, that came in as, they barely snuck into the playoffs and they're on a run here. This is a team that lost legit outside of week 18 where they sat everybody. They lost one game this year.
One.
This is unprecedented.
You said it best before the game. And it's a phrase that we use a lot on the network and use a lot in sports betting parlance, and that styles make fights.
Yeah.
And
not good.
Today was not the day for Kansas City style to go up against this Philly team who clearly would have beaten anybody on a day like today, getting this kind of pressure, harassing a quarterback like this.
Yep.
And I think we are – what do we got here? We have another –
I mean, what we have is embarrassing. That's what we have. And do you notice how long it's taking him to throw the ball? Like, that was telegraphed from a mile away. And why are you targeting D-Hop? I'm just curious. When did D-Hop become a main target of Patrick Mahomes here? I do not understand what we're watching. I really don't. And they're just going to go for the jugular here, and there it is, right?
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Devontae Smith, touchdown, 34-0. Extra point pending.
Yep.
This is an annihilation every step of the way.
Yep.
So, ball game is over,
yes.
Obviously. We're 2 minutes and 40 seconds left in the third quarter.
But we still need points here, people. We still need points. Yep.
I feel good about the over.
Yep.
It didn't get there the way I expected it to get there, but we're going to be at 34 here, and the total going into the game was 48.5.
Yep.
So we need 15 points.
Yeah, we need a couple touchdowns here. It'd be great.
15 points.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. We need a couple of touchdowns would be fantastic, but this is just unprecedented what we're seeing here from, again, a team that ended up with the best record in football. Was absolutely unbelievable. We all kept waiting for. It's so funny, right? Because we all throughout the year, when we did the show, we covered these Kansas City games on Sundays.
Yeah.
And we're all going like, at some point, the wheels are going to fall off here, right?
Man, that coverage was pretty good.
Yeah, it was a great throw. But did he drop it or no?
That ball hit the ground.
It did hit the ground.
Why didn't they wait on that review?
Well, it should have came in from up top automatically. No, there is a question as far as whether or not
we got commercial breaks to run, guys.
Yeah, right.
We got to get to the commercials.
We got to go. We got more commercials to hit here. My goodness, but that looked like it hit the ground.
I mean, he had it. I think he had it. I just in the brief replay that I saw, I would give him the catch, but I certainly would want to look at it again.
That's
great throw by Hurts.
Isn't that automatic though?
Yeah, but it took them 5 minutes to see what yard line Jahan Dotson was down on.
Yep.
They can't take an extra minute to see the Devontae Smith touchdown catch that was or wasn't. All right, back with more in the biggest blowout in history of the Super Bowl.
Who we pulling for? Who we looking to win this game?
I picked Buffalo over Kansas City in the AFC Championship game, and I was wrong. I'm picking Philly. Philly has the better roster.
Yeah.
But Kansas City just knows how to win, especially one-score games. But I think Saquon, like he's been the difference all year, Kansas City has to prove to me they can stop him.
Absolutely.
They can stop him, stop that O-line, and not have Jalen have to throw it 40 times.
Only on SportsGrid.
It was the greatest show ever. It's funny, and you know what I like? You have balls. I mean, the stuff you do on that show, you are half crazy.
You know, I feel like a good sense of humor, and I like to show it off. And this kind of originally started where people were the hot dog eating challenge was something that I always wanted to do, and every 4th of July, and I was like, I could eat a ton of hot dogs.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid. It's finally here. The big game is just days away, and SportsGrid is live from New Orleans all week long, bringing you the latest news, insights, and analysis from the biggest names in the game. And on game day, we've got you covered all day long with expert picks, live odds, and everything you need to make the most out of the biggest game of the year. Don't miss a second, and it's all happening only on SportsGrid.
All right, so the Chiefs are moving the ball a little bit. They're in Philly territory for the first time in a minute.
Oh, yeah. No, it only took them 3.5 games, 3.5 quarters, rather. And I just want everyone to remember that this was a team that was just laying 4.5 points in the third quarter, a quarter in which they have all year long been absolutely abysmal in. And they've already been outscored, 10-0 in this quarter. And now in the final minute, there's a couple of things that are on display here too. How many rushing attempts does Mahomes have, and what are his rushing yards at this point? Because that was another big.
Just 2 for 11.
Oh wow! So
everything else has been a sack or a hurry or something.
So 2 attempts for 11 yards. I mean, his number was 6.5, I believe, on the rushing attempts.
It opened at 5.5, and it steamed up.
Yeah, that's not even close at this point here.
What is Reed looks incredulous about something?
To me, it looked like he was ahead of the line of scrimmage. Was he not, or is that what they were looking at? Or
I didn't think he was, but it's certainly possible.
Yep. Well, a minute to
go
here.
Sort of like a backhanded flip to Kelsey for a first down.
Yes.
But I think they're taking a look. Maybe replay assist is working on this one. The one thing I wanted to check. So when the Broncos got annihilated by the Seahawks in that Super Bowl, they lost 43-8. The Broncos were shut out until the last play of the third quarter, and Peyton threw a touchdown pass to Demaryius Thomas, their only score of the game.
Yep. And there it is.
There we go.
Is that who I think it is? Worthy.
Xavier.
James Worthy.
Don't call
Xavier.
me James.
Yes, Xavier.
Worthy.
There he is.
Call him James so much. All right. So pretty similar, actually. You know what the score was of the Broncos-Seahawks game before they scored a touchdown?
What was it?
36-0. Almost identical.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm feeling better about jumping in at plus 27.5 here. We're for Kansas City, so I think we're alive here, Mike. I think we found a middling opportunity here with Kansas City, and I need a 2-point conversion. The 2-point conversion is huge because will there be a successful 2-point conversion? Was pretty good plus money.
We can get this.
Yeah, so this would be fantastic if they can get it.
This is exactly what the Broncos did,
and they
when
did
they were
not.
losing.
No, that was awful.
Christmas.
What was that, by the way?
No.
Oh, they had to try to force it into Kelsey. Oh,
yeah. What is he not going to?
That was terrible,
any
Mahomes.
Points? What is Kelsey's line now? He did catch something on that drive.
Yeah, he caught something.
2.
Yeah, he caught it
for
right.
22.
Yeah.
He's So 2 for 22 on the day. Probably Brandon Graham's last game.
Yes.
Right. 15-year vet. He forced himself back into the lineup here, even though he wasn't 100%. and he's going to get a Super Bowl victory. So that's pretty cool for him. His second Super Bowl ring. Travis Kelce, obviously, his brother has retired. They sold their podcast for $1 billion.
Yep.
Or not quite, but something in that range. And you have to wonder as he goes, does he want to fight through another season? He is under contract for next year, Kelce is. But
Yes.
I mean, you don't walk away from the money, right?
I don't think you want this to be your swan song either.
Yeah,
so,
true.
I mean, if I'm Kelce,
It wasn't like he was bad this year. He
No.
started
He
off
was slow
but,
start,
yeah.
yes. But at the same time, I wouldn't want my final game to be remembered for this performance.
Agreed.
But hey, plenty of time left. Not really. But who knows? Crazier things have happened here. But again, this is all, if we're hoping for Kansas City to get something going, we need the defense here to somehow get off this field. And they just have not been able to do it all game here.
I'll tell you another thing I didn't expect to see today. Kenny Pickett snaps in the Super Bowl.
No.
We've got to start thinking about him.
Nope.
Later.
Nope.
You think Jalen just takes them all to the end?
Right through the MVP trophy.
Anne Hathaway.
Yeah, why
He's
is
an
Anne
Eagles
Hathaway?
fan now?
Well, listen.
Right. Everybody's from Philly today.
Well, you can't show Taylor Swift because there's absolutely
they
nothing
got Bradley
to correlate.
Cooper.
There's nothing to correlate for Kelce this game. So,
All right.
My goodness.
When is Anne Hathaway from Philly? Was she a hardcore Philly person now?
Yeah,
All
must
right.
be.
Wearing her green sweater, right?
Yes.
Like most Eagles fans.
Yes.
Green sweater tied around her
Yep.
tied around her neck. Like that. All right. Here's Saquon. Saquon rushing attempts. I think that's the one we got to track.
That's the one we're looking
most.
at. Yep.
We are up to 18 now. Need 4 more. 18 for 46. He's going to want to break one. So we're going to get a little bit of a Bears vibe. Remember how Walter Payton was upset after that Super Bowl when he didn't score a touchdown? Now, he was much further in his Bears legacy and NFL legacy than Saquon was.
Right.
But I think they're going to want to try to get Saquon into the end zone.
I agree.
As the third quarter ends right here, we'll be back with fourth quarter action right here on NBA Live.
Who we pulling for? Who we looking to win this game?
I picked Buffalo over Kansas City in the AFC Championship game, and I was wrong. I'm picking Philly. Philly has the better roster.
Yeah.
But Kansas City just knows how to win, especially one-score games. But I think Saquon, like he's been the difference all year, Kansas City has to prove to me they can stop him.
Absolutely.
They can stop him, stop that O-line, and not have Jalen have to throw it 40 times.
Only on SportsGrid.
It is the greatest show ever. It's funny, and you know what I like? You have balls. I mean, the stuff you do on that show, you are half crazy.
I feel like a good sense of humor, and I like to show it off. And this kind of originally started where people were the hot dog eating challenge was something that I always wanted to do, and every 4th of July, and I was like, I could eat a ton of hot dogs.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid. It's finally here. The big game is just days away, and SportsGrid is live from New Orleans all week long, bringing you the latest news, insights, and analysis from the biggest names in the game. And on game day, we've got you covered all day long with expert picks, live odds, and everything you need to make the most out of the biggest game of the year. Don't miss a second, and it's all happening only on SportsGrid.
All right, we are back. Mike and Joe here with you for the rest of the way. We will have a post-game show as well. Same guys that did the halftime show, Adam Kaufman and Scott Wetzel and Tom Vecchio. We're going to be here right to the bitter end, folks. It's not everybody's favorite Super Bowl. I get it. It's a blowout. We didn't want to see a blowout. These teams played each other so tight a couple of years ago, and we've had a few good ones in a row, Joe, but that's the way it is. We had the Rams-Bengals Super Bowl right down to the wire. This one 2 years ago, right down to the wire. And then last year, we got to overtime. But we had a string there in the 90s when we had a lot of blowout Super Bowls. And I'm used to watching games like this. It's unfortunate that one team was ready to go and one team just got totally dominated. Philly's success, that looked like a catch for Barkley if you're looking for rush attempts. But they've not been shy about giving to Saquon today. I think that's his 25th touch on the day, Joe. 19 carries now. And 6 touches is exactly right. 25 touches on the day. But we're going to remember this game for one thing, how badly Kansas City got dominated up front. The Philly defensive line is the star of the show. You can't give them the MVP, but that's what it's all been about.
No, it was just pure domination by the Philadelphia defense and Vic Fangio. And, again, they were the number one defense all year long. So, I mean, it took them a little while to get things going. But like in typical Vic Fangio defense, every defense he's ever coached, there was a learning curve. And it usually took, 3-4 games before they really started to figure it out. And, my goodness, from about week 5 on, this was the best defense in the NFL. Now, the big question was, of course, the schedule of teams and the games they played. It's, but I think by far this is the best defense Kansas City had seen. I mean, outside of the games, I guess we want to consider Baltimore, but, Baltimore couldn't win. They couldn't beat Buffalo. So I do think this was, without a doubt, the best defense that they have that they've seen here.
Yeah, fair to say. And this is as great as Philly has been this year, this is even a great game for them, right? Like we saw it right from the beginning. I was a little bit tepid in my concern early, just because I've seen Kansas City bounce back so many times. But you could see the juice that Philly had right away. The DeJean interception really took it to another level, and it's been all downhill since. I mean, even since that interception, they've outscored them 17-6. And you see Philly's taking the play clock down every time now. I think we're going to get a pretty quick fourth quarter.
That's what they
do. And I think we are now at 21 carries for Saquon Barkley. Maybe that's 20. So we're getting there. We're getting pretty close to his over. We're going to get there on this drive, to be honest. 2nd and 11. They're not going to throw unless it's 3rd and long. And you can see they're just taking 30 seconds at a time, Joe. So we might get the NFL is going to have to figure out a way to stretch like they did in the college football championship game. They have to figure out a way to stretch this fourth quarter for commercials. Yeah,
and I think that what they're going to do here at this point is stretch it out to the point where they're going to hope that Mahomes gets the ball back at some point here, and it'll be all up-tempo, and it'll be the Patrick Mahomes to see if he can't get something going here.
Oh, man.
They missed him, and Jalen Hurts is going to be your leading rusher in this game, isn't he?
Yep.
I don't even think he's going to be close.
72 yards right now.
Yeah, so he will be your MVP. Make no mistake about it here. As good as everybody else was, he is your MVP of this game.
We told you, I mean, I don't know how else to say it. We told you when it was minus 390 that it's not a bet that we recommend very often, but it was absolutely going to happen. He's minus 2,300 right now. So if you've got that kind of cash to create leverage on minus 2,300, God bless. But that is a tough one to bet. Minus 3,000 now. So he is the leading rusher, Joe, 72 yards and a score. Barkley up to 21 carries now. We just need one more, which we'll probably get. By the way, that was a scamper for Hurts. I think that was his longest rush of the day for 17 yards. But he's been good throwing the ball too, Joe. 17 to 22, 221. The 2 scores, the touchdown. He hits Devontae Smith with the big pass, and he didn't have to have his most spectacular passing day ever, which honestly, the last time they played in the Super Bowl was one of his greatest games. And now you see right there in his 2 Super Bowl appearances, 304 passing and 70 rushing yards with 4 total touchdowns last time out. Now it's 221 passing, 72 rushing yards, and 3 total touchdowns.
Yep.
Just a spectacular game for Hurts again. And for
another
all the
sack.
doubts that we had about Hurts last year, Joe, and him turning the ball over at a ridiculous rate, Kellen Moore came in. They changed the approach, and they got him to being a more conservative thrower, letting him throw what he's comfortable with, and utilizing this ground attack, which is the best in the league.
So I think what we need here, Mike, is we need a field goal at least here for Philadelphia, right? Because that'll give us 43 points then. And
and then Kansas City come back with a touchdown.
Yeah, and then Kansas City come back with some points, and everybody is good to go.
I mean, I don't care who scores the touchdowns at this point.
Yeah, no. And I'm kind of shocked that they would have done anything other than just do this, which is hand the ball off. And now...
So that's it for Barkley, 22 carries for Barkley.
That's it. So he's over to 21.5 attempts, which is awesome. I don't think he's going to hit the 114.5 or whatever that prop was for his total
He's only got
rushing
51 yards.
Yeah, so short of anything of busting one out here, but... we're going to see if Elliott, I don't know what's going to happen here.
28 touches for Barkley, 91 yards total. So it's not like a bust of a game.
Correct.
He just hasn't gashed them like he was able to gash other teams. So
Well, you wouldn't expect he would.
Right.
Because
they sold out on that.
They were going to have to stop him. They weren't going to let... Basically, Spags and company, the defense was just put behind the 8 ball right away. That was the problem because of time of possession. But they've done a great job of limiting him, but it's not him. It's the outside. It's the receivers. It's Jalen Hurts that has absolutely gashed him here, and that's exactly what happened here.
Couldn't do anything exotic, right?
Yep, nothing. Yep, look at this, another 48-yard attempt for Elliott, and right down the middle. So
37-6. All right.
Yep.
So we're up to 43. I think we had recommended early in the game to bet the over on 42.
Yep.
Man, it's breaking down on the Kansas City sidelines.
Oh, they're a mess.
Charles Omenihu is not feeling good. I hope he's not injured. I think he's dealing with a tough performance there.
Yes.
All right. So we're over the 42.5, which was, I think, the lowest that we saw the total.
Correct.
Throughout the day.
Yep.
So hopefully we helped you with that live line. And we're going to keep rooting for points here. That's what we do in the Super Bowl. We're trying to root for an over here. And the lines right now for Jalen Hurts, 17 to 22, 221, and 11 carries for 72 yards.
Yep.
He will be your Super Bowl MVP. Nothing's going to happen out of the ordinary here. Even if DeJean comes up with another pick six. Dwight Smith had 2 pick sixes against the Raiders.
Right.
And he didn't win the MVP. Dexter Jackson, his teammate, who had 2 picks. All right, but Dwight Smith's second pick six came with 2 seconds left in the game. It was meaningless.
Yep. Who else was it? Was it Woodson, too, that also? Was it special teams? And who was it that
Larry Brown for the Cowboys in 95 against the Steelers. He had 2 picks, and he won an MVP. Dexter Jackson had 2 picks and won an MVP.
Also MVP.
Dwight Smith in that same game had 2 pick sixes and didn't win the MVP.
That's crazy.
We had Malcolm Smith won an MVP in that blowout against the Broncos.
What were Von Miller's numbers? Did Von Miller ever...
There was just no passing numbers from Peyton in that game.
Right.
So I'll look that one up. But Von Miller won that MVP. That was a 20-1 shot.
Yes.
Was Von Miller.
Yep.
So
that was a bomb.
We're at that point of the game. We got to look at Super Bowl history to see if we can try to
come up with
something that's totally inexplicable. But
wow.
Again, hopefully you're having fun with us here. We appreciate you all watching SportsGrid throughout the season, and certainly in these last couple of weeks during our Super Bowl coverage. We're back with more of the fourth quarter as we try to root this game over 50. Joe Rainieri, Mike Hewitt on In Game Live. Back.
Who we pulling for? Who we looking to win this game?
I picked Buffalo over Kansas City in
Gotcha.
the AFC Championship
Sure.
game, and I was wrong. I'm picking Philly. Philly has the better roster.
Yeah.
But Kansas City just knows how to win, especially one-score games. But I think Saquon, like he's been the difference all year, Kansas City has to prove to me they can stop him.
Absolutely.
They can stop him, stop that O-line, and not have Jalen have to throw it 40 times.
Only on SportsGrid.
It was the greatest show ever. It's funny, and you know what I like? You have balls. I mean, the stuff you do on that show, you are half crazy.
You know, I feel like a good sense of humor, and I like to show it off. And this kind of originally started where people were the hot dog eating challenge was something that I always wanted to do, and every 4th of July, and I was like, I could eat a ton of hot dogs.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid. It's finally here. The big game is just days away, and SportsGrid is live from New Orleans all week long, bringing you the latest news, insights, and analysis from the biggest names in the game. And on game day, we've got you covered all day long with expert picks, live odds, and everything you need to make the most out of the biggest game of the year. Don't miss a second, and it's all happening only on SportsGrid.
Okay, so was that a penalty on Philly? All right, so we had a strip sack of Patrick Mahomes. He got crushed on the play.
Oh, it's on
Personal foul.
personal foul. It's got to be.
Yeah. So there's a flag that.
Then they called on the Chiefs, so they didn't. Boy, what a reversal of fortunes there with their Fs.
That's a penalty on Mahomes.
Hit him right in the face.
He hit him in the face.
Right in the face. Yep.
Why
And
does it
they
keep
didn't get
happening this year? We see more and more quarterbacks getting hit in the face mask, and nobody's calling anything.
Yeah, well, you should be able to review that, right? You can review everything else. So the fact that
Remember the
you got
game
a guy-
ended with the Darnold game that ended the
That's
game with the
correct.
Vikings
Yep.
ended with Sam Darnold getting face masked and
Yep.
fumbled the ball to
Yep.
end the game.
Yep.
Well, anyway, they didn't call the penalty.
Nope.
It's a strip sack on Mahomes. He got hit in the face mask, and it was definitely a personal foul, but no call there. 37-6. All right, Saquon Barkley. I think people are rooting hard for an anytime touchdown for him. They are at the 26-yard line. I just need a score. 37-6, 43. We need a touchdown.
Yep.
And we'll get us to.
I mean,
we'll get us to 50.
they are unloading here on.
Now they can dial it up. I didn't think they would, but
Yes.
and
yes.
Philly's taking the play clock down every time.
As
as
well
they were in the
should.
last
I mean,
drive.
that's what they do.
Yeah.
Yep, that's what they do.
So
Oh. Yep. Boy, oh boy.
All
So
right,
I don't
man.
know. Is this are these two teams a dynasty here? Is this are we expecting this rivalry to continue moving forward here? Because now it's 1-1, right? You feel like you almost have to have a third go at this. No.
Well, something that was said a lot, including by yours truly, before the game was that Philly was better on paper.
Yes.
But we had concerns about the coaching matchup and the QB matchup. Not to, it wasn't to denigrate Jalen Hurts in any way, but that Patrick Mahomes is who he is. And he's had an all-time great resume, certainly through the first 7 years of his career. But this also does lead us into conversations about next season. Philly's going to walk in as clearly the best team on paper in the
Correct.
league. The quarterback's only 26 years old. They have three superstars on defense that are not yet 25 years old, DeGene, Mitchell, and Carter. And they have a bunch of weapons on offense that they can utilize however they want, and the best offensive line in the league.
Yep.
So they walk in, they're the best team. They're going to be clear favorites.
Yep.
The Chiefs now, who, to their credit, rebuilt the offensive line after the Tampa blowout in the Super Bowl, are going to have to address something, notably the offensive line right now, and their lack of explosiveness on offense.
Correct.
They went 17-2 heading into this game. They were able to find a way to win for a variety of different reasons. The defense is really good. The quarterback is great. But now what do they do moving forward?
Yep.
They didn't run the ball effectively this year.
Correct.
They clearly can't protect him against the better defenses in the league.
Yep.
So the Chiefs feel further away from coming back to this game next year than Philly does.
I agree. But
But
again,
can Baltimore and Buffalo and the others actually knock them off?
and we also, listen, we said this for years with Brady and the Patriots too. Like, what are they going to do? And then they always end up doing it.
That Patriots team that played and lost to the Eagles stunk.
Correct.
Their defense was terrible, and Brady dragged them there.
Yep.
And he threw for 500 yards in that Super Bowl.
And you'll be able
And he
to
almost
do that.
won.
Now, I'll say this. You're right. No, they had absolutely no running game whatsoever this year, Kansas City. The wide receivers in this group were not healthy until, quite honestly, until we got to the playoffs. They weren't all on the same page. They had to go out. Don't forget, they started the year. They had to go out and get D-Hop. They were trying. Schuster had to come back. It was a duct tape and Elmer's glue, and they still managed to win those games. So, it'll be interesting. A healthy Pacheco, maybe you get a running game going. You've got healthy wide receivers who can stretch the field with Worthy now. I don't know that they need that much, overhaul here. I think they just need to keep some guys healthy and get some reinforcements. They got to be able to run the ball. You can't do it without a running game.
Right. And the Worthy thing, he, as explosive as he is, Jake Elliott closing on Jalen Hurts for MVP, just
saying.
drill in another field goal.
My goodness.
So the thing about Worthy is they obviously utilize him as best they can.
Yes.
And get him into run plays and quick hitting plays. And my opinion on him as a player is that he's a really great asset, but I don't think he'll ever be a refined elite wide receiver like A.J. Brown. Another
field goal. That's a flag. Unreal.
It's going to get them a first down.
No, I think he's got to kick it again. Again. This is now the third
Jordan
one.
Mailata and a false start on a field goal. What is happening here? So, where was I going with that? So, I just don't think he'll ever be a refined receiver in the way that A.J. Brown is, or Justin Jefferson is, or Jamar Chase is.
Correct.
But he's clearly an asset.
Yep.
But they even know that he either can't be that, or they didn't have the ability to operate like that.
Correct.
They were so bad throwing the ball downfield. How do they correct that? Why wouldn't they correct that given who plays quarterback?
I agree. Yep. And by the way, so he kicked a 50-yard field goal.
Jake Elliott, dominant. Struggled all year. He's been dominant.
Give him the MVP. What do you think?
That's right.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Give him the MVP.
We get updated odds on Jalen Hurts is minus 4,000.
So now I got a legit question here.
Oh, where's Elliott?
Is this not the
Can I get
Carson
odds
Wentz
on Elliott?
hour? Do we not see Carson? Why are you why are we throwing out Pat Mahomes to get absolutely run over every chance that he gets here? I don't know. Maybe Carson Wentz. Just saying. Maybe it's
it would be so terrible for him if he comes in and throws it.
It would be fantastic.
I'm just saying, if he comes in and throws a pick six to Philly,
I
just don't think Andy Reid can do that to the guy.
Oh, come on, Andy.
To put him out there.
Andy, you got to save the ratings. Throw in Carson Wentz, and let's see how he does against his former team. Please, let's see how that works out.
Minus 33.5.
That would
49.5 is now the total. We're kicking field goals. Come on, guys. We got to get there.
Unreal.
Got to get there. 40-6 now is the score. We need a field goal. That's all we need.
That's it.
Kansas City's not going to kick one.
Why not? At this point, you might as well get Harrison Butker involved.
40-9.
Yeah.
Needed a touchdown right there. So.
Unreal.
All right. Well,
by the way, this final 7 minutes.
Who we pulling for? Who we looking to win this game?
I picked Buffalo over Kansas City in the AFC Championship game, and I was wrong. I'm picking Philly. Philly has the better roster.
Yeah.
But Kansas City just knows how to win, especially one-score games. But I think Saquon, like he's been the difference all year, Kansas City has to prove to me they can stop him.
Absolutely.
They can stop him, stop that O-line, and not have Jalen have to throw it 40 times.
Only on SportsGrid.
It was the greatest show ever. It's funny, and you know what I like? You have balls. I mean, the stuff you do on that show, you are half crazy.
You know, I feel like a good sense of humor, and I like to show it off. And this kind of originally started where people were the hot dog eating challenge was something that I always wanted to do, and every 4th of July, and I was like, I could eat a ton of hot dogs.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid. It's finally here. The big game is just days away, and SportsGrid is live from New Orleans all week long, bringing you the latest news, insights, and analysis from the biggest names in the game. And on game day, we've got you covered all day long with expert picks, live odds, and everything you need to make the most out of the biggest game of the year. Don't miss a second, and it's all happening only on SportsGrid.
All right, we're back. 40-6, 7.5 minutes to go left in the Super Bowl. All over but the crying. We're trying to get over, folks. We're at 46. For those of you underbetters, you're in a deep sweat right now. We just need a field goal to get over 48.5. We'll see if we can get there. Kansas City probably not going to kick a field goal, so you're going to need this to be a Kansas City touchdown.
Yep.
And
a 2-point conversion.
Shout out to Pacheco just hustling back to the line of scrimmage.
Yes.
Let's check some other overs that we had. I had a Travis Kelce over 61. He's got 39 yards right now. This is the largest deficit of Patrick Mahomes' career.
Yep.
Down 34 points. He probably saw a couple of those at Texas Tech, though, to be fair.
Exactly. Because the way his offensive line has been playing here today, it looks like he was at Tech. But Kelsey's going to continue to rack up a whole bunch of garbage yards here and receptions. So those that are looking forward to him, 6.5 was his number receptions-wise?
Yeah.
6. How many has he got now? He's got to be close, no?
I don't know if that was 4 or 5.
I think it was close. I think that might have been 4.
So 4 for 39 right now is where he's at.
Yeah.
There's Worthy.
Yeah, there's Worthy. I mean, where's Brown? Does he even exist in this one, Hollywood?
Hollywood's got 1 catch for 9 yards
is
on
not
4
getting
targets.
It done. Yeah, that's it.
Xavier Worthy now over 100 yards.
Wow.
He's the leading receiver of the day. He had the 50-yarder, so that bumped up the numbers.
Yeah, and now they're
under 6 minutes. All right, we need a Chiefs touchdown here. We just need to rack up some stats.
Yeah.
See, this is how they use Worthy, these little screens, and try to let them run.
But this is the wrong part of the game to be in. You need to be taking bombs. You know, get Hollywood Brown out there streaking or something because it's
we need the
terrible.
Chiefs to score, though, because if they give the ball back, Philly's just going to go 4-minute offense.
That's correct.
They're going to kneel it out.
They're going to kneel it all down.
We're not going to get our Kenny Pickett snaps.
No, and Carson, I'm really hoping Carson Wentz gets in the game because I really think that would be the icing on the cake for Philadelphia to go and maybe sack him and strip sack him. Be great. Oh, good pass. That was quality.
What was that?
The pictures they are giving us right now of the the defensive players on the bench for Kansas City is quite priceless, man, because there are guys that just have no idea what hit them here, Mike.
Honestly, I think they're confused.
Yeah,
they're like, we kind of did our job. Yep. How are we losing by 34 points?
Yep, exactly correct.
The best player in the league just had his worst day?
Yep, no show here. Yep, all right, no show. And listen, if their job and game plan was to come in there and stop Saquon Barkley and make sure that they did it. They did their
offside,
job.
free play from Mahomes.
Yeah,
He's
this
going
is
deep.
going to end it done. Oh,
It's not gonna
it's
count.
coming back though.
Coming back.
Yeah.
He
Sit down.
just took a shot there.
Yeah, now, dude, you got to lay down, dude, because oh boy,
We're just draining clock here.
yeah.
Well, he's just draining clock.
Yeah, that's all. He's going to take it to the house, and then
C.J. Gardner-Johnson took it to the house, but it was a free play from Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
Took a shot at the end zone, and
yeah, but he threw it in a quadruple coverage.
Could have been.
So I'm not sure that was a free play.
Could have been a 98-yard.
Yes.
Yeah, that's Jalen Carter was way outside.
No, was it Carter? Yeah, it was. Yeah, he got a little excited there. But now what do you do? So you got 5 minutes to go here. It's an automatic first down, right?
Yeah. No, but
third one, so it's not even yet. They didn't even get enough of that. Has Jalen Carter gotten a sack? I know that was a big prop, too, today for guys. Was Jalen Carter getting in?
You know, he doesn't really get a lot of sacks.
No, he doesn't. Yeah.
He disrupts everything.
Yep.
But he doesn't really rack up a big number of stats. I'll see what he's got here today. Sacks on the day, Josh Sweat, 2.5. Jalix Hunt has a half. Milton Williams has 2.
2 has had a big day.
So 2.5, 3, 4, 5. Somebody else has 1. Jordan Davis has 1.
Yeah, that's impressive.
So as far as Jalen Carter's stats, he has no official stats. He's hit the QB twice.
That's it, right?
Yep.
That's it. Okay, so he doesn't have anything in there. Oh, there's P.
Ryan.
Yeah, P.
But
Ryan.
it was a carry,
But now he's rushing for some reason.
Where's Pacheco?
Yes, exactly.
Bring in Pacheco.
Where's Hollywood Brown? Where is he when you need him? I still need a 2-point conversion here. So
we're under 5 minutes here.
2-point conversion would be
great. Is that a first
great.
down there?
Yes, it was.
So 1st and 10 from the 25-yard line. Please do not throw an interception, Pat.
When does Philadelphia start to use their timeouts?
He's going to throw an
here?
interception.
Oh, no. Here he goes.
Oh, running.
Oh, no.
Oh, he almost got killed by Jalen Carter.
Yeah, but Jalen
No,
Carter
that was him. That was Milton Williams.
Well, that's good. How many rushing yards does he have now? We got to check that when we get back.
Mahomes up to 18. About 18 seconds left in this game. Back after this.
Who we pulling for? Who we looking to win this game?
I picked Buffalo over Kansas City in the AFC Championship game, and I was wrong. I'm picking Philly. Philly has the better roster, but Kansas City just knows how to win, especially one-score games. But I think Saquon, like he's been the difference all year, Kansas City has to prove to me they can stop him.
Absolutely.
They can stop him, stop that O-line, and not have Jalen have to throw it 40 times.
Only on SportsGrid.
It was the greatest show ever. It's funny, and you know what I like? You have balls. I mean, the stuff you do on that show, you are half crazy.
You know, I feel like a good sense of humor, and I like to show it off. And this kind of originally started where people were the hot dog eating challenge was something that I always wanted to do, and every 4th of July, and I was like, I could eat a ton of hot dogs.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid. It's finally here. The big game is just days away, and SportsGrid is live from New Orleans all week long, bringing you the latest news, insights, and analysis from the biggest names in the game. And on game day, we've got you covered all day long with expert picks, live odds, and everything you need to make the most out of the biggest game of the year. Don't miss a second, and it's all happening only on SportsGrid.
Come on, Patrick Mahomes. Run into the end zone. All right, he gets tackled. It'll be 3rd and about 4 from the 3rd and 5 from the 6-yard line. 40-6. For all you overbetters today, we had it.
Yes.
And then they took away the touchdown.
Just like that.
Pick play by Juju Smith-Schuster gets called. Pass interference wipes away the touchdown. So
anytime Hollywood Brown TD, people got to be a little annoyed as well.
Yeah, no kidding. 3rd and 6 from the 7. You're a bold man if you had a Hollywood Brown anytime touchdown. So let's see if the Chiefs can punch it in here. This is really the last effort of the day.
And it is. And who is it? Juju?
No way.
No, Hopkins.
DeAndre Hopkins. Good for him.
DeAndre Hopkins with an anytime TD.
I'm not celebrating this.
Wow.
I don't know if he's in. Is he in?
He didn't look in, but at this point, I still need a 2-point conversion. So just get me the 2-point conversion here. Oh, he was, wow. They didn't utilize him at all down the stretch. This is what cracks me up because he's been more reliable than anybody else here today.
Got the over.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Never in doubt.
Need the 2-point conversion. Need the 2-point conversion. Come on.
40-12. We need a 2-pointer. We are over on the day. Just like we said, exactly the way we cooked it up.
Yeah.
And over with 2 minutes and 54 seconds left.
This is not good.
Come on, 2-pointer.
Oh, they got it. Look at that.
Let's go.
Right.
Let's go.
Cash it. Pick play. That's coming back.
Pick play again. This is unbelievable.
What is the penalty yardage for Kansas City? Oh, it's on the Eagles, so we're going to be good there.
Let's go. 2-pointer.
What is the
2-pointer.
Yes, there we go. There'll be a successful
2-pointer.
At plus money.
I think I lost that bet 6 Super Bowls in a row.
Correct. Yes. I'm just trying to break even. I'm just trying to get it back.
I'm just trying to claw back my successful 2-pointer.
All right, so now the question is, you got an onside kick it. It's not going to work. So how many timeouts does Kansas City? I don't think they have any. So we basically
one each.
All right. So basically, you got the 2-minute warning coming up, but it's 1 first down, and that's it. The game's over.
Right. They really want to get Saquon a touchdown.
I don't think Saquon's going to see the field again. I think they traded Carson Wentz back to Philadelphia at the break, and he's going to come in and he'll be the quarterback.
Good call by the Giants, huh? Just letting him walk.
Oh, great! If I'm the Maras right now, I am so excited watching this game. You got to really feel good for Saquon in a Eagle uniform winning the trophy.
So shout out to Saquon with his effort today, and he was only 30 yards away from the record, but he had 57 yards today. That gives him the most rushing yards in a single season in NFL history. He was 62 carries behind Terrell Davis, so I know he played an extra game, but less carries than Terrell Davis. He's going to end up with in the neighborhood of 2,600 yards, I think,
yes.
Total. I'll get the exact number that he had, but Saquon with one of the greatest rushing campaigns in the history of the league, and I got some other stats for you on it, but an impressive season for them. The reality, there's a quote that lives in my mind and most Giants fans' mind. During Hard Knocks, Joe Shane said, we didn't pay our $40 million quarterback to hand off to our $12 million running back.
Yep.
A $12 million running back on a salary cap of this size is a low percentage of the salary cap.
Correct.
Saquon doesn't even count 5% against Philadelphia's cap, and he's the biggest weapon in the league this year. He won Offensive Player of the Year.
That might have been the best onside kick attempt I've seen all year long, and they blew it. And Kansas City had an opportunity to get it, and they didn't. That was impressive. Is Harrison Bucky even still on a team? Because he hasn't. He did kick off, I guess, once or twice.
So here it is for Saquon. 2,447 yards rushing on the season, plus another 57 today. So,
impressive.
Yeah, that puts him over 2,500. I said 2,600.
Is that Kenny Pickett? I cannot.
We got the Kenny Pickett snaps.
The Kenny Pickett sighting is in. Outstanding.
The Steelers nailed it. They got a Super Bowl, a guy that participated in the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Kenny Pickett, first-round pick of my Pittsburgh Steelers, gets Super Bowl action, unfortunately.
Oh, wait. Gatorade color.
Gatorade color.
Yellow or green?
Yellow
or green?
I think it's white. No,
it's
lemon
yellow.
lime.
It's yellow, yes.
Yeah, it's the lemon lime. Old school.
Yeah.
Old school.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, that was minus 260.
Minus 260. All right.
Yeah, like they almost knew ahead of time what the Gatorade color was going to be. Oh, there it is, minus 195, and I think it closed at minus 260. Unreal.
You know, a lot has been said about Sirianni, including maybe by me, about how it's very strange the way he interacts and sort of trash talks.
Wait, they're handing the ball off.
Trash talks his own fans and talks smack to the other team, and you got to have that. We had to learn who the security. Big Dom. We had to learn who he was at some point. So. But to his credit, in his first 4 seasons under the team, they've been to 2 Super Bowls, and now he's a Super Bowl champ.
They can say whatever they want. He's got the hardware now, and he has got the ring. And by the way, the argument could be made he should have 2 of them at this point. So, I mean, we laughed at what Kansas City has to do, but let's be realistic here. What in the world does... and Kansas City took its final timeout for what reason, I have no idea, other than they're hoping to run a couple more commercials for $12 million for the NFL to make. I'm just thinking that what does Philadelphia do now in the offseason? Because they got a lot of young guys on this team. They've already paid, right? They've already paid Hurts, right?
Saquon's paid. A.J. Brown's paid.
Yep, they're paid. So
Smitty. Devontae Smith, you have to start thinking about it. What is he? He's the same as...
he was a rookie a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah. So you pick up his 5th-year option. Like, what? I got to figure out what year he's in. I can't remember if he's 3rd or 4th year. But Devontae Smith, this was his 4th season.
Yes.
So I presume they picked up that 5th-year option already.
That's what I'm thinking, right?
You're going to have to think about an extension for Devontae Smith, right?
Yep.
Jalen Carter's only in year 2.
Yep. That's correct.
DeJean and Mitchell are rookies.
Yep.
I think you probably start to look at some other stuff, like how long is Lane Johnson playing? You know, like how long does he want to keep playing for? He's got 2 Super Bowl rings now. He's obviously highly paid, but he's played through a lot of injuries as well. The thing that I think impresses me most about this Philly team is that they lost Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon after the Super Bowl. They brought in 2 new coordinators. Mm-hmm. It didn't work last year.
Nope.
Things fell apart.
Yep.
Howie Roseman / Nick Sirianni, if you want to give him credit for it, they knew they needed to go out and make some changes. They got a younger offensive coordinator that is obviously well thought of and is going to be a head coach as of tomorrow for the New Orleans Saints. And Vic Fangio, a veteran defensive coordinator. There were some questions as to whether or not Fangio's style and Moore's style could coexist, and clearly couldn't have worked out any better.
It did. I mean, 2 guys that, listen, it sounded like a lot like Sirianni just listen, this is do your thing with the defense, and we'll be good to go.
But it had to put Moore in a position who has shown a penchant to design more explosive plays.
Yep.
This is a good sign for Saints fans, by the way.
Huge.
He obviously has an ability. He doesn't just have one pitch, is what I would say.
Yeah.
He did play ball control style, and he utilized Barkley and their strengths, and made sure Hurts didn't turn the ball over.
Correct.
It all comes down to the player, but he designed an offense that allowed Hurts to flourish and not have to feel like the entire game was on his back every time. So...
No,
Philly's in great position next year.
They really are. They pushed all the right buttons, did everything that they needed to do to make it, to give themselves a chance to get back into this spot.
Yeah.
And really the investment on the defensive side of the ball, really, with all those young draft picks and what they did, go out and get Darius Slay. I mean, they've made the right decisions on the defensive side of the ball. And more importantly, they paid Hurts. They locked him up, and they said he's our franchise guy. And, boy, it's paying dividends.
Yeah, absolutely is. Okay, we're going to wrap it up probably in the next segment, pass it over to the guys to put an end to the NFL season.
Who we pulling for? Who we looking to win this game?
I picked Buffalo over Kansas City in the AFC Championship game, and I was wrong. I'm picking Philly. Philly has the better roster, but Kansas City just knows how to win, especially one-score games. But I think Saquon, like he's been the difference all year, Kansas City has to prove to me they can stop him.
Absolutely.
They can stop him, stop that O-line, and not have Jalen have to throw it 40 times.
Only on SportsGrid.
It was the greatest show ever. It's funny, and you know what I like? You have balls. I mean, the stuff you do on that show, you are half crazy.
You know, I feel like a good sense of humor, and I like to show it off. And this kind of originally started where people were the hot dog eating challenge was something that I always wanted to do, and every 4th of July, and I was like, I could eat a ton of hot dogs.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid. It's finally here. The big game is just days away, and SportsGrid is live from New Orleans all week long, bringing you the latest news, insights, and analysis from the biggest names in the game. And on game day, we've got you covered all day long with expert picks, live odds, and everything you need to make the most out of the biggest game of the year. Don't miss a second, and it's all happening only on SportsGrid.
All right, a little juice late, folks. We never end these games without a little bit of excitement. The Eagles went on. Look, another two-pointer, Joe Rainieri.
Shocker.
We never. They can't stop scoring two-point conversions at this point.
Is
So
that D-Hop again? Who was that?
that is D-Hop on the two-point conversion. Xavier Worthy's having a monster game now. So a couple things happened. Kenny Pickett came in the game, and they went on 4th down. They missed it,
thing
and Mahomes throws a bomb on the first play. Xavier Worthy is now 8 for 157 and 2 touchdowns. Pat Mahomes, 21 of 32, 257 and 3 touchdowns. That puts him over his passing total of the day, which was right around 252 and a half, I believe, Joe.
Yep.
And 3 touchdowns. So if you had Pat Mahomes over on passing touchdowns, that'll get it done. So the stats are going to look a lot better. They go for a two-pointer, and DeAndre Hopkins is the one to catch it. So his stat line on the day, DeAndre Hopkins, is, where is it now? It is 2 for 18 with a touchdown and a two-point conversion. And we got Harrison Butker back in for another onside kick attempt. 40-22. It's 18.
I have no. You know, instead of celebrating Philadelphia with 3 minutes, how about you make sure like the game's over first? That would have been fantastic. Look at this. I hope he gets. I hope they do it one more time. Unbelievable.
All right, so that's it. That's Grant Calcaterra, I believe.
Yeah. Well, you don't know. Pickett's in, so anything could happen.
I think you take Pickett out. I think you take Pickett out now.
Yeah.
And put Jalen Hurts back in to kneel on this thing 3 times.
But you know what else covered? The 27.5 that we took for Kansas City in game. Oh, my goodness.
All right, so it's 18 is going to be the final number here that they win. 62, so we go way over.
Yep.
Nice little fourth quarter flurry there. 21 points scored in the fourth quarter. And again, Kansas City does what they do. They score a lot of points in the fourth quarter and none in the third. Kenny Pickett taking knees is not something that I dreamt up. In my wildest dreams, I did not have Kenny Pickett taking a knee to win, maybe win a football game ever again, let alone a Super Bowl. So Jalen Hurts going to be your MVP. I think that's pretty clear. 221 and 2 touchdowns, 11 for 72, and a rushing touchdown. So, so there you go.
I got to tell you.
Any final thoughts?
I'm laughing because I believe one of the props was, will the team who scores last win the game? And the answer is no. Absolutely not.
Right.
So,
and we had 3 consecutive scores from the Eagles. Obviously, we did not get that from the Chiefs because of the field goals. Okay, we're going to go to the postgame show in a minute. I just want to say on behalf of Joe Rainieri and myself, we loved having you spend every Sunday with us, and including the Super Bowl, which may not have been our favorite Super Bowl ever. Thank you to Frank Bartunek for producing, Vin Bichetta, Matt DeMasso on graphics today, Will Garton for all the video today, and Robert Anderson as our technical director. Joe and I have had a chance to work together for years and spent this entire year spending every Sunday with you on In-Game Live. Any final thoughts, buddy?
No, it was a great season. Congratulations to Eagles fan, because Lord knows they'll have nothing to say from now until the start of the next season.
EAGLES are the champs. Keep watching SportsGrid postgame coming up next. Pro Football Today. Thank you again for everybody for watching SportsGrid during our Super Bowl Sunday presentation. I'll see you soon.
Back on Pro Football Today here on SportsGrid. Thanks for being with us. I'm Adam Kaufman, joined again here by Scott Wetzel and Tom Vecchio. That's a wrap. Super Bowl is over. Congrats to the Philadelphia Eagles, Super Bowl 59 winners, and honestly, sweat-free if you bet them, too. It was never even close. Don't be fooled by the final score. 24-0 at the half. Turns into a 40-22 game by the end, only because of really garbage time points there out of the Chiefs. The Eagles, with a few minutes left, decided Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, Dallas Goedert, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, you name it. You guys don't even need to be part of it. You can go rejoice on the sideline and be with your head coach, Nick Sirianni, drenched in Gatorade with 2-3 minutes still left in this game. It was Kenny Pickett, Kenneth Gainwell, the men who were just running out the clock. This game, I think the biggest thing, guys, the biggest shock, the biggest storyline, I mean, I want your main takeaways, but it has to at least begin with the fact that I think maybe Tom and I more so than you, Scott, based on what you've said all night, but floored by the fact that this wasn't even competitive.
Yeah, listen, I didn't think it would be in the end. I mean, I did think it would be close to the half, and I thought Philadelphia up 2 scores would tack on one more and they'd win by 17, so I didn't come far from that, I must say. We hit our same game parlay. We did really well. Props also came through. As old fantasy players will tell you, man, those yards in the final 2, 3, 4 minutes all count towards the props, and we had so many guys go over their numbers that were not going to go over their numbers if they just would have run out the clock, Philadelphia, but they didn't. But really the story, listen, nothing against Philadelphia or Jalen Hurts and all that other stuff, but the story is it's Kansas City. It's Patrick Mahomes. It's that offense that was, for the most part, for 3.5 quarters, just got awful at him, or Tom. I mean, it's just, I don't know how you explain it. I mean, it's crazy how bad they were.
Completely inept for really how bad they were, and it was kind of a magnification of what we saw from them at times, where we were discussing in the pregame show, the only team to not reach 30 points throughout the regular season, and that's what we saw. And all the things that they struggled with all happened at the same time. And we can break down some of that. We can talk about the players, which players went over, which players went under. We're coming up against a break, Adam, and we will get into all of this. But the Eagles win. The game goes over. Congrats to the Eagles if you had futures, whatever it might have been.
Truly amazing thing, too, is I've tweeted out multiple times in the last little bit what a terrible football game this was. And I'll tell you what, the country disagrees, because this isn't a pro-Eagles sentiment. Everyone, unless you're a Chiefs fan, wanted Kansas City to lose. People just dancing on graves tonight.
It's finally here. The big game is just days away, and SportsGrid is live from New Orleans all week long, bringing you the latest news, insights, and analysis from the biggest names in the game. And on game day, we've got you covered all day long, with expert picks, live odds, and everything you need to make the most out of the biggest game of the year. Don't miss a second, and it's all happening only on SportsGrid.
even the great Nick Saban had to put his team together to do it his way. We know Coach Ryan's coming in to come run the offense, who was his right-hand man, a good friend of his at UW. And, now he's coming in. Everything is going the way we want this thing to be. Coach DeBoer is a great recruiter. He's a great father of players. He's a great leader of men. He's going to do great.
Only on SportsGrid.
It was the greatest show ever. It's funny, and you know what I like? You have balls. I mean, the stuff you do on that show, you are half crazy.
I feel like a good sense of humor, and I like to show it off. And this kind of originally started where people were the hot dog eating challenge was something that I always wanted to do, and every 4th of July, and I was like, I could eat a ton of hot dogs.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Back with us on Pro Football Today. Again, the Eagles 40-22 winners, Super Bowl 59. Later on in the program, before we're out of here, we'll look ahead to Super Bowl futures for Super Bowl 60 right around the corner. It's never too early to look ahead, but as I teased before, boys, let's pick it up here. Tom, biggest takeaway from this game?
The Eagles won, and it didn't require Saquon to have a massive game. And, a lot of people talked about throughout the Eagles season, A.J. Brown not having the biggest games at times, and it was a Saquon team, and players had to play different roles, and you couldn't be the star. And a lot of that was true tonight, where Saquon was actually the one that wasn't being the star.
Mm-hmm.
He was held to, less than 100 yards combined, which is not something that we had seen from Saquon, especially with the recent run that he's been on. And it is a team effort to win, and that's what it requires, whether it's early in the season, Saquon has big games. Late in the season, other players have to step up at times. A.J. Brown being held to 10 yards in a playoff game. They still find ways to win. And honestly, credit to, the coaching staff. Obviously, they're going to have more leave. He's going to be a head coach. But from the top to the bottom, they constructed a roster that everyone had a part. And it didn't have to be one player every single game. You have to just pull the right levers, and it brings a team effort to win.
Look, Scott, I didn't believe it in the 2 weeks of lead up and all the conversation obviously surrounding this game, but I know you did. Lots of people, a lot of sharps, quite frankly, a lot of the professional bettors that I spoke with were screaming unders on Saquon Barkley, under whether it's rushing, receiving combined yardage, rushing yardage, longest rush yardage. It was just, will he score a touchdown? Who knows? I mean, that's, something of a wild card. I never in a million years would have guessed the Eagles would put up 40 points and Saquon would not find the end zone. That, to me, might be the most shocking thing to come out of this game. But for all the people that said, I don't think this is going to be a Saquon game, and you were in that camp, congrats, because you nailed it. The Eagles found a way to win, obviously, and the defense was a gigantic part of it. But offensively, it was the other guys.
Yeah, I'll pat myself on the back because no one else will, right? I mean, I had to.
No, we said credit to you. They're going to win by 30. We'll put up 30 and win by multiple scores.
It to perfection. I mean, it really, even the 17-point difference, it was 18 points. I had it at 34-17, right? But I thought they would stuff the box. They did. I thought they would control Barkley. They did. And I thought that it would be up to Jalen Hurts to throw the football, and he did. Although I will say, if you just looked at the box score, it's one of those goofy games where I imagine Jalen Hurts got the MVP, but in reality, it was the Eagles' defense that really should be the MVP in this game, because if I told you before the game, guys, that Philadelphia would have 57 yards rushing out of Saquon Barkley on 25 carries, so it's not like they only did it a couple times, and their leading receiver was Devontae Smith, no. A.J. Brown, no. How about Saquon Barkley? 6 receptions and his 40 yards. It wasn't even for like 120 yards. Like he took one of these and then went the distance, right? He didn't have any long runs. His longest run was only 10 yards. Jalen Hurts, threw the ball for 221 yards. Nothing crazy. So it's like, how do you look at that and say they scored 40 points, but the defense, the interception return, set him up for another short touchdown? It was the defense that really kind of stole the show.
If I'm not mistaken, we don't know the MVP yet. I think we presume it's going to be Jalen Hurts, but I mean, like you said, and I don't disagree with the feeling. If you'd love to just give it to the defense, but you can't give it to a unit. So who does it become at that point? Is it DeJean, who obviously scored the touchdown, birthday boy, and great story, great narrative, great bet if you invested in it. And I've seen some people on social media flashing their tickets, trying to speak it into existence. Please God, please, all of that. I don't think ultimately he'll win. I do think it'll be Hurts, but yeah, I mean, look, and it'll be controversial. Like, I'll pull up his Twitter account, Bert Breer, who obviously covers the NFL for MMQB. He tweeted out a little bit ago. Where is it? I had it before.
About Hurts?
If a quarterback wins the MVP while his defense shuts Patrick Mahomes out for nearly 3 quarters and holds the Chiefs' offense under 100 yards deep into the second half, then I don't know what to say about the voters.
Again, it's to your point. They can't give it to a unit, so it's almost as if they just default to the QB.
Right.
And again, we can get into who deserves it. Is the Hurts the best offensive player because you're not going to be giving it to a unit? But they didn't win the game because of one interception return.
No.
Right.
So again, at a certain point, while we agree the defense has it, they're just going to default to Hurts.
Yeah. And it did have 3 touchdowns. Ran for 1, passed for 2. Threw for over 200 yards. Ran for 72, the most in a quarterback in Super Bowl history. So it's not like he was just mediocre. This is not Eli Manning, I will say. Nothing for nothing. But this is not Eli Manning winning Super Bowl MVP. I mean, he actually accounted for 3 touchdowns and a bunch of points.
Hurts was awesome.
Give you a wild stat courtesy of ESPN's Mike Reese. Stat of the Super Bowl: Eagles did not blitz a single time on Patrick Mahomes' 42 dropbacks. Not once. Wow.
It's finally here. The big game is just days away, and SportsGrid is live from New Orleans all week long, bringing you the latest news, insights, and analysis from the biggest names in the game. And on game day, we've got you covered all day long, with expert picks, live odds, and everything you need to make the most out of the biggest game of the year. Don't miss a second, and it's all happening only on SportsGrid.
Even the great Nick Saban had to put his team together to do it his way. We know Coach Ryan's coming in to come run the offense, who was his right-hand man, a good friend of his at UW. And, now he's coming in. Everything is going the way we want this thing to be. Coach DeBoer is a great recruiter. He's a great father of players. He's a great leader of men. He's going to do great.
Only on SportsGrid.
It was the greatest show ever. It's funny, and you know what I like? You have balls. I mean, the stuff you do on that show, you are half crazy.
I feel like a good sense of humor, and I like to show it off. And this kind of originally started where people were the hot dog eating challenge was something that I always wanted to do every 4th of July, and I was like, I could eat a ton of hot dogs.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
We should find out momentarily the Super Bowl 59 most valuable player. Again, I think we're all assuming Jalen Hurts, sort of defaulting to the quarterback because it is hard to pick one defensive player out of a dominant unit here in this performance here today. But look, we've got plenty of time ahead of us, another half hour, and we'll be able to, again, look ahead to expectations for next year. And there's some stuff surrounding the Eagles' schedule that's now becoming a topic on social media in terms of opponents and all of that stuff. But part of the conversation, obviously, is going to be what does this mean for Kansas City going forward? Because all the talk the last couple of weeks, guys, was about how we were about to see, it was almost inevitable, we were going to see the first three-peat in NFL history.
Yep.
And the Eagles spoil it, much as they did for the Patriots, although that was different because they won in the middle of a multiple championship run. It was, Pats, Eagles, Pats. This obviously would have been a three-peat that the Eagles stood in front of and dominated. And we did not get, by any stretch, the best of Patrick Mahomes. I don't just mean here in this game or in this postseason. I mean throughout this year. He's not old. He's not about to retire. He's not done. He's not whatever. But he's also not the GOAT. And there are a lot of people that are ready to proclaim him that, and that's fine. I'm not saying he couldn't possibly be at some point, but games like this just further show, like, it's okay. He's got a long way to go. Let's take a step back, appreciate what we're seeing. The Chiefs are still an incredible team, and they're in maybe in the midst of a great run. But I guess, Scott, that's the question. Is it midst, or are we kind of starting to see the end?
I wouldn't say the end. You got to figure Worthy's going to be that much better next year as a sophomore. You get Rashee Rice. Hopefully he fully recovers. Maybe they go out and they go get a T. Martin, from Cincinnati, who figures to move away from the Bengals.
Higgins.
Or T. Higgins, rather. Right, T. Martin, Tennessee quarterback. They could go get him, too, if they wanted to. But listen, there's too much talent, and when you have Mahomes, I don't think they're done by any stretch. Tough division now. The Denver's going to be pretty good, and the Chargers, so it won't be a cakewalk for them. But I'd be surprised if they did make the playoffs, if you want to say they're going to go that far back. No. But are they going to be consensus favorites? Did they get exposed today? NFL draft, how many defensive linemen went up the draft board today because we saw what the Philadelphia Eagles defensive line did to the Kansas City Chiefs offensive line, right?
I think we're getting to a point where, we were talking about this during the game, that there's going to be an argument and just a general discourse across the NFL in the offseason that it's not just the Chiefs as the odds-on favorite, at least to come out of the AFC. This opens up the opportunity for Lamar and the Ravens, Allen and the Bills, Burrow and the Bengals, and then some of those other teams to make a move up the board to really challenge the Chiefs. And I think when we're talking about Mahomes specifically, as long as Andy Reid is there, I have full confidence that the Chiefs will do something. But I think they need to find a solution at running back because they clearly don't have, and maybe it's just a factor, like I said on the pregame show, Pacheco's not fully healthy. Because if he were to be fully healthy, they will have a different offense. But I almost want to say the Chiefs need to find ways to win in different ways. It can't just be Mahomes, because when they don't have a running game, their offense doesn't do a whole lot. And when they get Rice back, as you said, and Worthy is healthy, and whatever happens with Kelsey, and I assume Juju won't be there, and they bring in this receiver, and Hopkins leaves, and et cetera, they need to find ways to win in different ways. And it can't all be on Mahomes, because it has to be a strong running game, at least to start, and then allowing Mahomes to have the creativity because he has time in the play action. That's what I think will happen for the Chiefs.
Yeah, I think what was concerning today is that it truly was, obviously, if I'm taking the quarterback out of it, removing Patrick Mahomes, it was one guy. It was Worthy. That's it. I mean, Kelsey, I guess, by the end was okay, went 4 for 39. But after that, I mean, what were you going to expect out of the, corpses of DeAndre Hopkins and Juju Smith-Schuster and, to some degree, Hollywood Brown?
I was expecting them to just play a part. And this is kind of my take on the Chiefs coming into the season, where I had said on many shows where I did not expect Kelsey to have a huge year because he wasn't going to have a big year because they have so many weapons. It's not just one player needing to do everything. They can have, a little bit of Hopkins here, a little bit of Juju here, maybe some mainly Worthy, but then a little bit of Pacheco, a little bit of Hunt, and everyone does just enough to move the offense forward. It doesn't have to be reliant on one player. That clearly didn't happen tonight, and it had to be one player, and that's what they need to fix. They can't, and any offense, whether it's the Chiefs, Whether it's another team in sport, the Lions been so successful, they have multiple options on offense that one player can bring in one game, and then they can fall back to other options when they need to.
Yeah, they got to upgrade that wide receiver room.
Yeah.
There was a point where the game was still, kind of in play. I think it was 24-0 midway through the third quarter, and it was 4th and 3, 4th and 4, right around midfield. Kansas City went for it, and they called a play for DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, are you serious? You got a 40-year-old wide receiver who couldn't beat a snail in a race, and that's the guy you're going to call a play for with basically your life on the line? They didn't get it, and for all intents and purposes, that really was the ball game. So they got to upgrade that. They got to get Rice back. Hopefully he'll be better and fully recovered. But even if he is, they still need some weapons. They got to help the Mahomes with the offensive line for sure.
And to your point earlier, Adam, if let's say, and no, we're not going to make any speculation about Kelsey, he retires, doesn't, but let's say he plays next year, he's not going to be the Kelsey he was, and he's just that much older. So It has to be Rice coming back fully healthy, Worthy continuing to develop, which he is a strong talent. Kelsey, again, playing a part, but there has to be someone else in that mix that allows Mahomes and Andy Reid have play-calling creativity to move their offense forward.
Cooper Kupp? Free agent? Or not free agent, but,
Yeah,
on the move,
partner,
available.
Trade partner,
on the move.
Absolutely.
Debo on the move.
Yeah.
On the move.
Perfect
A player that would fit into the creative play calling, doesn't need to be a strong route runner to have massive games, doesn't need to see 11 targets.
I agree with all of that, but you have to wonder, and this is sort of the gamesmanship that comes into play with all of this. I mean, what would it take? Like, how good does that package have to be in return for teams like the Niners, the Rams, to be willing to trade a weapon of that caliber, even, a bit injury-plagued and, getting up there in age and all of that, but nevertheless, a clear-cut weapon, if right, to the Chiefs?
Well, teams should operate at a certain point. If they're going to move on from a player because of salary cap concerns, where it might be, they need to take what they can get, because if you're going to then cut the player and then be left with dead cap space, then that's the worst-case scenario.
Sure.
Yeah, and that's why I don't think they'll really be able to trade Cooper Kupp, too, because if you trade for a guy, that means you're taking on his contract, and he's going to make $15 million a year, and he's not a $15 million a year player. So they probably won't be able to trade for him. But think about this. The Dolphins didn't have to give up a number 1 for Tyreek Hill 4 years ago. So for Deebo Samuel, who's going to be a free agent after next year, I don't think it'll take a number 1. I'm sure San Fran would say, you want to give me a number 2 for a guy that we're not going to re-sign?
A 2 and then a third down the line a couple years later. It's doable.
No, look, nearly a year ago at this time, the talk was whether Brandon Ayuk was going to go for a first-round pick.
Right.
And ultimately, they didn't trade him and figured out the contract and all of that. But it is official, Jalen Hurts, Super Bowl MVP, which means now in 59 Super Bowls, there are 34 quarterbacks who have won the award, up near 60% of the time, obviously. If you guys, and I'll start with you, Scott, if you guys were voters, Hurts get your vote almost by default, or would you have gone elsewhere?
No, I'd give it to him. Like I said, first of all, it's the media. They want a story. You're going to give it to Sweat. You're going to give it to DeJean. I mean, or do you want your trophy to be with, Jalen Hurts? So, and like I said, he did, it wasn't like he was a nobody. 221 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, ran for another, so he counted for 3 TDs. I would have given it to Hurts.
Rushing, too. He was their leading rusher.
He's leading rusher, set the Super Bowl record for most rushing yards for a quarterback. So, I'm okay with Hurts getting it.
Yeah, I'm totally fine. Like I said, Hurts was awesome, multiple touchdowns, led the offense. The one pick, it was great. The throw itself wasn't great, but it didn't hurt them. And maybe that's credit to their defense stepping up when they're working with Kansas City against their backs, whatever it might be. But Hurts does deserve it.
Yeah.
Total yardage in this one, not as lopsided after all the garbage scoring as you would have thought earlier, 345 to 275. For all of the penalty talk and all of that coming into the game, 8 for 59 for the Eagles. The Chiefs, 7 for 75.
Wow.
More penalty yards.
Close. Very close.
Very close, and more against KC. Not only is it not rigged, folks, maybe they wanted the Chiefs to lose. We'll be back on PFT.
Best dressed guy, let me tell you, next to me in terms of Radio Row. I want to get your thoughts quickly on the game, Philly and KC. How do you see it playing out?
Obviously you got Patrick Mahomes, who just finds a way to win. Then you got on the other side of the table an alien, and Barkley. I mean, he's had an incredible year.
Right.
I think whoever has the balls last is going to win the football game.
Only on SportsGrid.
I have no idea how to categorize what Mavericks GM Nico Harrison pulled off, Joe. All I know is that he shipped off Luka Doncic without telling Luka about it.
If you thought conditioning was a problem for Luka, wait till you get a load of Anthony Davis tripping over air and then missing 40 games because he's like Glass Joe's.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Back here, Pro Football Today, and again, sort of basking in the afterglow of the Eagles' upset, narrow upset, but I think in the way they won, pretty significant upset of the Kansas City Chiefs, 40-22. Again, it was a tight spread. It was a virtual pick'em. It's not the catastrophic upset in that way. It's just the way in which Mahomes and that offense and the Chiefs were manhandled and outplayed. I'm not sure we can possibly give enough credit to Vic Fangio, the defensive coordinator for Philadelphia. I mean, despite, again, Jalen Hurts being the most valuable player of this game, all the talk that should come out of this game in the days and weeks to come as people sort of celebrate the season and look back and all, it should be on the defense. The defensive performance, much honestly as it was when Tom Brady won his 7th Super Bowl there with Tampa. I mean, he wasn't anything special in that game. They won because of the defense. The way that Tampa Bay similarly worked Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs' offense in that game. That ultimately is what got the job done. It was this: if you can find a way defensively, don't worry about getting into a shootout and outscoring them, kind of like how the Ravens and Bills are built to compete with Kansas City in the AFC. If you can find a way to stifle them defensively, that is how you ultimately, dethrone them.
There are two keys, and whether it's the draft, free agency, trades, acquisitions, I think there are two keys, maybe three. It is facilitating the pass, and you can break that in down two sections, would be protecting the quarterback and then enabling him with weapons, and then, hindering the pass on the defensive side, and that's what the Eagles did, is bringing the pressure and hindering Mahomes' ability to have clean pockets and move around and go through his reads, because that's what. So when you're drafting players, it has to be defensive players that are downhill players getting after the quarterback, or it's going to be defensive or offensive linemen to protect the pass. That's what teams should be focusing in on.
I'm just amazed at how Kansas City just never could adapt. We gave the numbers before. Well, they have 7 or 8 possessions in the first half, and they had 1 first down. I mean, we're talking about Andy Reid, who's regarded as one of the great offensive minds in all the NFL, right? We're talking about Patrick Mahomes. Maybe the first drive, okay. Maybe even the second drive, okay, guys, they're doing this. We expected that, so this is what we're going to have to do. And it just never clicked in, even at halftime. They got a full 20 minutes plus at halftime with the Super Bowl. They came out in the third quarter, got the ball first. They're only down 24-0. You put some points on the board, you got yourself a ball game, and nothing until late third quarter when really the game was completely over. This game was 40-6, and then they tacked on 2 touchdowns in the final 5 minutes. So the 18-point spread is not indicative of really how one side of this thing was, but just no adjusting, no adapting, no, okay, we can't go left, so we got to go right out of Kansas City. I mean, the numbers aren't going to reflect it, right? He was 21 of 32 for 257 with 3 touchdown passes. I mean, you're going to bitch about that, Scott, but they're not indicative of his performance and at Kansas City's performance today.
And also at a certain point, when we get to that type of game script, the Eagles are almost playing a prevent at that point.
Yeah.
Their defense, so the yards are going to be like, okay, well, he got yards. Well, they got yards because of the way the game script enabled it. It wasn't efficient yards.
Right.
So we're going to go through some player props or what we had from the head-to-heads because, a lot of players did well. A lot of players did very poorly. Notably, Xavier Worthy was amazing for the Chiefs side of things. Flew over his
in the
yard.
second half anyway.
In the second half anyway. We talked about briefly his yardage, which was sitting at 32 at halftime. He obviously flies over that.
Live line was
32, correct. As you can see,
he had like 2.
Right. At one, I believe.
I think it was one. Yeah, one
halftime.
reception for 1 yard. Yeah.
And he flies over that immensely in the second half. A.J. Brown, obviously, caught the touchdown, didn't cross that number. But the Mahomes rushing prop, which I spoke about at halftime, which was sitting at 18.5, he does go over that, but falls below his pregame number, which was 27.5 or 28.5.
Sunk a parlay for me.
Yeah, depending on where you got that. So good performances from a few players, but a lot of unders on Saquon, a lot of unders on some of the receivers from Philadelphia.
That's amazing. Mahomes went over, when everything was said and done with the goofy passing and in the final 2 minutes there, he goes over his number at 257. Hurts goes over his barely at 221. He went over his rushing one. Barkley, you mentioned, goes well under, obviously, his rushing one. Devontae Smith did go over his. It was low, but he got 4 receptions for 69 yards, so that was good. Brown went under his.
A 46-yarder.
Yeah, that helped a little bit, right? just a little there. Worthy blew by his. Kelsey went under his, right? Maybe in game you got something on it because he didn't have any receptions for the longest time, or one for like 5 yards, but he ends up with 4 with 39. And they ran the ball outside of Mahomes scrambles. They ran the ball 7 times for 24 yards.
I said Pacheco under 6.5 rushing attempts.
Yeah,
it was not. And listen, the number moved to 5.5. If you don't want to play it at 5.5, I understand that, but. It was, and they have no rushing. They had no rushing today.
Yeah.
And that's part of, you were saying, the first drive, okay, whatever, second drive, whatever. They need to make that adjustment in-game, and having a consistent running game, I want to say, is part of the reason that they failed. If you are in a spot where the Eagles didn't have to worry about the Chiefs moving the ball on the ground at all. At all. They could sell out to guard the extra receivers and only blitz 4. And that was the key because they locked up the receivers and the tight ends, and it was all coverage sacks. And it's credit to the Eagles. I'm not saying coverage sacks is a bad thing. It's because the Eagles were so efficient.
Well, ultimately, and you alluded to this before, Tom, I do think that for the Chiefs, now I don't know how you figure it out. Maybe it is as simple as Isaiah Pacheco needs to get right because clearly he is still banged up and not himself, and we expected Kareem Hunt to be more of a factor in this one, at least in terms of usage. They only ran the ball 11 times as a team. 4 of those were Mahomes. That means you take out the quarterback. That is 7 rushes total for Kansas City. A lot of that I realized was game script, but even still, 11 for, again, removing Mahomes. So just take them out all together. 7 for 24 were the running backs in this game. Hunt, 3 for 9. P. Ryan, 1 for 8. Pacheco, 3 for 7. Just a disaster of a performance.
They had 7 drives in the first half, as we've talked about. That means they had less than 1 rushing attempt per drive in one half. And that we're talking about the whole game here.
Right.
Figure out the running game.
But also, let's remember, too, it was a disaster by the end. You allowed 40 points, but it wasn't that from the get-go. It was 7-0 at the end of the first quarter. The Chiefs it was just sort of Mahomes or bust. And that was the plan.
The argument that the Ravens had where they abandoned the run last postseason, and that's why they lost, that's what's going to happen this offseason for the Chiefs. That's going to be the narrative. Get back to the running game.
Is it too early to look at Super Bowl odds for a year from now? I don't think so.
best dressed guy, let me tell you, next to me in terms of Radio Row. I want to get your thoughts quickly on the game, Philly and KC. How do you see it playing out?
You know, obviously you got Patrick Mahomes, who just finds a way to win. Then you got on the other side of the table an alien, and Barkley. I mean, he's had an incredible year.
Right.
I think whoever has the balls last is going to win the football game.
Only on SportsGrid.
I have no idea how to categorize what Mavericks GM Nico Harrison pulled off, Joe. All I know is that he shipped off Luka Doncic without telling Luka about it.
If you thought conditioning was a problem for Luka, wait till you get a load of Anthony Davis tripping over air and then missing 40 games because he's like Glass Joe's.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
That is a wrap on the 2024, I guess. 4 into 5 ever so briefly. The 2024 NFL season's cooked. We are early 2025, which means the Super Bowl a year from now, 2026. Am I putting people's head in a pretzel as we approach 11 o'clock Eastern? I'm not sure. Here's what I do know. Super Bowl betting odds are out for a year from now that obviously you can invest in much, much sooner, like right this second if you really wanted to, if you have conviction. The question is, Tommy, Scott, do you have conviction? We're looking at it on the screen. These odds brought to you by FanDuel here, and Chiefs plus 650, the Eagles plus 650, co-favorites, the teams that were just in the Super Bowl, of course, Philadelphia, the winner. Then you have Baltimore, the Bills, 2 AFC teams that were right there in the mix. Lions, no surprise. The Niners could surprise some people, sitting there with the next best odds in the NFC at 14-1. Then you have the likes of the Packers, the Bengals, really got to shore up that defense, obviously. Commanders, can Jaden Daniels get it done as a sophomore? And then it really kind of drops off. Not necessarily as much in the odds, but in terms of the overall talent, as far as I'm concerned. In order, Texans, Chargers, Rams, Vikings, who, we'll see what their quarterback situation is, Buccaneers, Bears, and so on and so forth. But, you know, that gets into the nitty-gritty middle of the league kind of situation. If you were investing in something right now, Scott, where are you putting your money?
I'd probably go Cincinnati. You know, the one team that seems to have the kryptonite to beat Patrick Mahomes in the AFC now. It's Cincinnati. They've done it before a couple of times, right? 19-1. That's not bad. I think they'll get the T. Higgins situation rectified. Whether they move on from him and bring somebody else in, or give him a long-term contract, which I kind of doubt. But you know, I like Cincinnati. Joey B, phenomenal year, right? Everything went against them this season. And I think that's going to come back to the means, and I think everything goes their way this season. So, you know what, you want to pick a team that you don't think these odds will be there come August, September.
Yes.
I think Cincinnati at 19-1 would be the one, Tom.
That was my pick as well. It's either that or the Commanders, and I think the better argument would be to make one for the Bengals because of how good Burrow is. Like, and the argument the entire year for Burrow was if you just give them a competent defense, and their defense was terrible. Right? And we're not even talking about a world-class defense like the Eagles, the top of the league. We're talking about a competent, middle-of-the-road defense. They were a playoff team. They would have won those games that they lost. They would have won one of those coin flip games. They would have ended up winning one of those, and they would have been in the playoffs. To say that they would have gone and made the Super Bowl, no, I'm not saying that. But give Burrow a competent defense that is average or slightly above average, and you can make the playoffs, have a shot at the division, and you have a spot to, again, like you said, be in the AFC Championship. And maybe not even playing the Chiefs. Maybe it'll be the Ravens or the Bills.
If you were looking at the top 5, Tom, the same question for you, Scott, but I'll start with Tom this time. If you're looking at the top 5 on the board, Chiefs, Eagles, Ravens, Bills, Lions, in that order. Who are you fading?
Fading the Lions, and it's mostly due to their coordinators leaving. And everyone talks about this year, and it's not just a case with the Lions, but like the brain drain. The strong OC leaving, strong DC leaving going on. They have to promote someone. Will there be growing pains? And this is not to say that I won't ever have a Lions future, because if they do start off slow, there will be growing pains, but there's still enough talent, and with Dan Campbell as head coach, that they can get it ironed out as the season goes on. If that number drops to 15-1, that's a different story.
I'd probably say San Francisco, maybe Buffalo, which I got to say, what's the excuse now, Buffalo Bills fans, right? Before it was always, all right, we lost to Kansas City, but they won the Super Bowl, so at least we lost to the champs. Can't say that this year, and they didn't, Kansas City obviously didn't even come close to beating Philadelphia. So if you can't beat Kansas City, Buffalo, you took a major step backwards today, But I would go San Fran. I'm not the biggest Brock Purdy fan in the world. I'm not a basher, but they're coming up on a big year. He's due for a major contract. I wouldn't give it to him. You got the Deebo Samuel mess. You got Christian McCaffrey. This is the Dallas Mavericks found out, with Anthony Davis, right? This is the guy you traded for today. He's out a month. Well, this is the Christian McCaffrey that San Francisco acquired from Carolina, where all these teams are like, how's he staying healthy? He wasn't healthy this year, and I don't think he's going to be healthy next year. He's 1 year older, so I can see San Francisco continuing to go the wrong way.
Incredible time throughout this season, obviously getting the opportunity to do shows Monday, Thursday nights, at least with Tommy doing Pro Football Today, Sundays with Scott and Joe Madden, as we did in-game live Pro Football Today, and so many different other opportunities that we've had the chance to work together and with this incredible crew behind the scenes that make all of this possible. Just because football season is over, folks, that doesn't mean we're going anywhere, because I assure you, there are still sports to bet on. If there are games to be played, there are wagers to be made, and hopefully money to be made as well. Thanks to the crew. Thanks to everyone for having us in studio. For Tom Scott, I'm Adam.